Hello, everyone. This is George DeSantis with the look at the market for the week ending Friday, October 9th, 2020. Um, Before we go any further, we usually bring up this disclaimer here and invite you to take a look at it because it informs you that I'm not a licensed professional investment advisor, and I am doing this purely for my own purposes and sharing it with a few friends and family. It's on YouTube, and anyone can take a look at it and make with it whatever you will. Um, we'll begin by looking at the general market as we usually do. So I'll bring up a couple of charts on the S&P 500, and then if we have some time, we only allotted 15 minutes for this. We'll take a look at some individual stocks. We'll start this week with a quick look at the monthly chart of the S&P 500, and we can see a couple of things here. We can see the moving averages above each other, the shorter ones above the longer ones. But the important couple of things that I wanted to point out here is that parabolic remains below the most recent bar, and these two bars give us a candlestick formation of a bullish harami. The body of this bar is totally engulfed by the body of this bar, and this is a bullish harami indicating higher prices to come. The parabolic is still below the most recent bar, so that's also bullish. MACD is trending up, etc. So that's a quick look at the monthly chart. Here's a weekly chart of the S&P 500, and a couple of things to note here. Notice that the 4 EMA, the yellow line, just bounced off of the 9 EMA and is now trending up because we have this nice bullish bar from last week. And the parabolic switched from being above the most recent bars to being below. So the parabolic indicator is described as a parabolic stop and reverse indicator. So if you had a downtrend as you did here, now you stop and you've reversed to an uptrend. So this is what we have here. Now, so we have all these moving averages above each other, which indicates an uptrend. And now we have two MACDs. One we use for sell signals, one for buy signals. The default MACD, this 1226.9, we use for buy signals. And since we got this buy signal here, we have continued to trend up. And we haven't had a sell signal on the 1939.9 since that occurred, since we've been in this uptrend. You see, we are still above that zero line. These indicators are all looking very bullish. Here's a daily chart of the S&P 500. What I did was I sort of crunched it up so that you can see something that I think is important here, and that is this squeeze. Notice how the Bollinger Bands came closer together here as opposed to what they were here, the distance between the upper and lower bands. And so we are coming out of a squeeze here and we are trending up. Therefore, we are moving to the upside. Therefore, it's a bullish uptrend. So the Bollinger Bands are indicating that to us. On the daily chart, we did have the parabolic switch to below the most recent bars here. It's still below the most recent bar. Moving averages are above each other, the shorter ones, the 4, the 9, the 30, and the 50. Uptrend. I'm going to move along a little quickly here because I'm assuming you're familiar with the terminology by now, those of you who've been taking a look at this for a while. Now, you can see that MACD, this is the one we use for sell signals. It is trending up, and you can see the one we use for buy signals, 1226.9, it gave us a buy signal here, and it's continuing to trend up. By the way, if you're familiar with Alex Elder's work, you will know that Alex points out that with a little more risk, when MACD begins to trend up from below the zero line, you may also begin to enter buy positions in that area, like in here, okay? Notice that we recently got across above the magenta line with the Williams percentile using a 30 period, and we also got across above the 4% line on the Jerry Appel's sum of the rate of change indicator. So these are all bullish indications here. And we'll talk about the seasonals because we are in that seasonal play now in October when markets tend to trend up until the end of the year, or at least until the end of the year and perhaps even into the new year. So we'll take a look at some of those in a minute. I'd like to go back to the weekly chart for a minute. I want to point out something else to you that's quite bullish, I think. We can probably make a case for a cup and handle price formation here. This being the cup and this being the handle. Now, if we break above the high here, which was, the high here was 35.88. If we break above 35.88, the high hit on this bar here, we should go even high. We can expect even higher prices. IBD uses this breakout as as one of their buy signals. Just want to point that out. I also want to show you a daily chart of the S&P, a chart that is one of the charts that Jake Bernstein uses. It plots the 10-day moving average of the highs and the 8-day moving average of the lows. The green is the highs, red is lows. Jake uses this, as I understand it, for setups and triggers. The setup is two complete bars above the 10-day moving average of the highs, as there were here, two complete bars above the moving average. So that was back on September 30th. And the trigger would be the accumulation distribution line, this Larry Williams indicator, above the 57-day moving average. So we already had the trigger, we had a setup, and we already had a trigger here. So that's what Jake Bernstein's chart is showing. All these other indicators are showing bullishness too, I think. Take a quick look at some charts from stockcharts.com. This is the Apple chart. We've seen it many times, but the Apple tends to track the rest of the market or vice versa. They're highly correlated, it seems. Look at this. You could almost see that cup and handle formation here. The cup and the handle. And it's the same that we see on the S&P 500. Apple is now giving us a bullish bar here, and MACD is trending up. Here's a chart that shows us the spread of the new highs and new lows. Stocks making new highs and new lows. You could see that it's trending up nicely here. The next chart would be the chart showing the impulse indicator, Alex Elder's impulse indicator. You can see that it's all green on the daily, I believe it is. Yes, on the daily chart it's green, and I would assume on the weekly it's also green. But notice that once we became very oversold here on Williams percentile, markets started to trend up again. You can see that the McClellan oscillator is also trending up. That's bullish. And here's a chart of the percentage of stocks in the S&P 100 above the 200-day moving average. You could see that since this big drop in March, we've been above here. And as long as we stay above this 50% line, we're doing pretty well, indicating an uptrend, okay? So we have many more stocks above the 200-day moving average. Continuing our review then of the general market, you could see that the S&P, the Dow Industrials are trending up. They broke out of this flag formation here, flagpole, flag, broke out of that. And as the Dow Industrials are making a new high, not really an all-time high, but a new high, higher than this high, the transports are confirming that. So insofar as the old Dow theory concept is concerned, transports are confirming the Dow. That's bullish. Now, interestingly enough, and I don't know what to make of this, you can see that utilities are trending up a lot here. And usually when the Dow is trending up, I think the utilities usually remain pretty flat. So that's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Now, the insiders purchasing is now a little more, it's more bearish than it was last week because last week was neutral. And this is the euphoria panic chart, you know, the sentiment chart, and it's just above neutral. And on the put call ratio versus the S&P 100, it's right in that bullish area here. I won't spend much time on it, but it's really in that bullish area right here. So much for that. Now on best choice software, if you bring up the spider, the S&P ETF, you can see that if you're looking for a short-term trade, this trade where we buy on November 20th, sell around December 6th. Of course, it's around that time. It's not, you know, like fixed in stone or gold. You have 100% win percentage with an average profit of 2.8%. 15 out of 15 years, this trade has been successful. Looking for a somewhat longer trade, October 25th to December 23rd, you get an 86% win percentage, average profit of 3%. 13 out of 15 years, it's been a winner. And you can see it's from October 25th. Incidentally, Larry Williams is calling for an uptrend beginning October 20th. And most of the seasonal charts that I look at are telling me October 10. That's been historically so, from October 10 or so. So this week, we will see if that holds true. So we'll turn to Shaken Analytics. They have a new sort of opening screen now, and it shows you stocks for the last week or what they've done, or even the last day. And so you can see that on Friday, Etsy was up 5%. The TQQQs were up 4.5%. Zoom, WCLD. These stocks, many of them I own. I own Zoom, I own WCLD, Microsoft I just sold. Adobe I own, Salesforce, ARKK, PayPal I just added to PayPal because of the seasonal play on PayPal. I own Square, IPO, Tesla, Synopsys, NIO. I own many of these, and NVIDIA. So with the few minutes we have left, I'll just go through a list of stocks that I have. Call it my short list. Many of these I own, and some of them I don't. I'll point them out to you. So we only have a few minutes. I'll go through very quickly. This is Best Buy. Now what you'll notice here is that most of them are overbought. Overbought doesn't mean it can't remain overbought for some time, as this stock did here. As it did here, you see it was overbought. It was overbought, but it continued to be overbought, right? Then it became oversold here. So that's Best Buy. Best Buy is now overbought, but it's right at the top of the list as one of the better ones to own. Lithium Motors, I don't own this one, but it's overbought. WCLD, I own it. It's overbought. WisdomTree, the WisdomTree cloud companies. ACN I don't own anymore at this time, but it's now overbought. However, it's looking as though it's bumping off of this long-term 200-day average. Adobe, I still own Adobe, quite a few shares, overbought, but it's bouncing off the 21-day average. I own ARKK. It's overbought, but I find this company this ETF is well managed. I like it. I'm holding it. CDNS, I don't own it right now, but it's bouncing off of that 21-day and the long-term average. I got to keep my eye on time here. Salesforce, we're overbought, but I still own it. IPO, I overbought, but I bought some recently. NIO, I still own it, but it's overbought. PayPal, I just added another 1,000 shares because of the seasonal trade. Synopsys I still own, but it's overbought. You can see many of these are overbought. Tesla I still own. Where's Tesla? Tesla's here. But now what I like about Tesla is this triangle here, you see? So we'll see how that shapes up. We don't have much time left, folks. One last one. NVIDIA I still own. Have a good weekend. I hope it turns out to be a great weekend for you. Bye-bye.